Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's start our video with a story in which the OP and his colleagues teach a greedy boss a lesson. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Company won't give raise to an underpaid employee. Not my story, but happened to a coworker. I know this because we're all really close and knew each other's numbers even though it was against company policy to share salary details with coworkers. Yes, it's perfectly legal to have policies in my country. I had a coworker, let's call him A, who was lowballed pretty bad fresh out of college. A was earning 40% less than other coworkers of similar experience, including me. Apparently, the HR promised them a raise big after probation period without giving anything in writing. As you'd expect, they refused to give him more than a 5% raise after a year. I should mention that given the nature of the industry and skill level of people in our cohort, it's fairly easy to get a new job if you get fired. So with our agreement, he brought up a point that he's way underpaid compared to any of his coworkers, and he knows the numbers. Again, our manager said that they won't give raises unless he has a counteroffer or he's free to leave anytime. Now malicious compliance. This guy started applying for jobs left and right and got a couple of offers, both almost double his current salary. Turns out his manager was bluffing all along and had to give him a 110% raise to get him to stay, which meant that we all also knew what they can offer and threatened to leave unless they give a better offer. Ultimately, they had to give all of us a 30 to 40% raise to match the other guy's offer without any counteroffers for ourselves. Within 6 months of this, most of us, including A, left the company for better pay and benefits. And our second story. Stop complaining about your neighbors. Okay, sure. I moved in an apartment with a roommate last summer. When we first came in, the biggest part of the sale was the fact that the apartment was freshly renovated and soundproof. This one's important, and you'll see why. So when we got in, my roommate immediately fell in love with it, and I was too. When we moved in, we were very careful not to bother anyone as we wanted to quickly have a good relationship with our neighbors. Oh, did you see the new neighbors? They only move during the day. They don't make sounds during the night. What nice people, kind of a deal. We can safely say it worked. What we didn't know, however, is that we were the only 3 renters when we first came in. Us on the floor, another family upstairs on the opposite side, and another one on the 3rd floor, with one empty apartment between us. Turns out the soundproof statement was accurate, but only in regards to the inside to outside situation. When our upstairs neighbor moved in, it was a GD nightmare. Sound from 5 a.m. to past midnight, 5 days in a row, dropping stuff, speaking loudly, yelling, or walking in their apartment with shoes on. Out of frustration, on the 5th day, I walk upstairs and meet my neighbor at midnight and ask them to cease their activities for the night. I have work in the morning and can't be kept up all night. I understand they were freshly moved in and they might have had a tight schedule, but midnight was too late to be moving stuff. He didn't reply and closed the door on me. I go downstairs and the sound starts over again. I notify my landlord and he tells me he'll handle it and apologize for the situation, explaining to me my neighbor was just moving and that he probably didn't understand what I was saying because of the language barrier. The neighbors were extremely loud. I know a lot of Karens will use that as an excuse to shower their neighbors with hate, but when I say loud, I mean it. There was no stop to their loud noises. It seemed like they couldn't be bothered to hold something without dropping it, or jumping up and down on the floor, or purposefully banging the bed frame against the wall. I recorded the event and even installed microphones in my home jacked to my computer, activating and recording every time there's a strong vibration in the house. Over 98 events on Monday, February 14th. I was livid. I sent that to the landlord and explained this cannot continue. First, the apartment was poorly soundproofed, which meant we were hearing every damn sound at all times. Second, we had notified the neighbors about the situation and they've ignored it. I've notified the landlord to awaken them to our situation. I report the issues several times and even advised my landlord that there were very heavy-sounding thuds coming from upstairs, which worried me. He answered with, "Stop complaining about your neighbors already. I have other things to do." I answered, "Understood, sir. Please be advised this will be my last communication and action to help you in that regard." You know when I said I heard loud bangs? Turns out our upstairs neighbor was doing bench press lifting in his living room, and the heavy thuds I kept hearing was him dropping his weights on the ground. I had warned my roommate about removing anything she didn't want broken from the living room, and lo and behold, 4 days later, the first crack appeared. Then another. The floor was giving up. I moved the couch out of the way and moved the TV and consoles into the bedroom. Fast forward to 3 days ago, after another series of loud bangs, I heard a loud crack followed by a "oh, followed by very loud noises. I went to the living room to see my neighbor on the ground with several actually gruesome injuries due to the fact that he just went through the floor and brought his bench and weight rack with him. I called an ambulance and the police. The police asked me if I reported the issue with my landlord, which I could confirm due to my communications being made via email. I sent everything, and am now, of course, filing to break my lease due to uninhabitable dwelling. The landlord came in yesterday and just proceeded to explode, told me I should have made him aware that my neighbor was doing dangerous things, to which I answered I had notified him about the very loud sounds and he never investigated, and that he also ordered me to stop complaining about my neighbors. It was not my responsibility to go out of my way to protect his assets if he's unwilling to cooperate with me. My neighbors, roommate, and I are now residing in a hotel until we can find a new place to live. We're now also looking towards adding a bit more salt to the injury by maybe filing for criminal negligence against both our landlord and the neighbor. The first because the apartment was apparently having some flaws, and the latter for endangering us. Had I not caught up on what caused the sound earlier, me, or God forbid my roommate, could have been under that. Anyway, it was a fun week, and I do enjoy the accommodations of my hotel. Never went to a 4-star spa-included hotel before. Turns out the chocolate on the pillow's a lie, and I'm very disappointed about that. I bet crashing through the ceiling's not the only fallout your neighbor's gonna witness. And our final story. I'm married to the owner. Me of course. K, Karen. B, boss. L, landlord. Okay, so I work at a large chain pizza place, but in a smaller town that no one really knows exists. Only carry out and delivery. Now, for this story to make sense, the store has a landlord, but also my boss is considered the owner of this store, even though it's a chain restaurant. Two different people, though, that own this building. So this Karen comes in one morning while I'm the manager on shift, and the only person there is my delivery driver. Driver is a 20-year-old male, I'm 24-year-old female, but honestly look very young. This was like a month or so ago, and we aren't allowed to have any customers come indoors. We walk to their car. COVID. So I very politely inform Kay that she can't come indoors, and I'll be more than happy to assist her at her car. Kay, that won't be necessary. I'm allowed in here. Me. No, ma'am, we aren't allowed to have any customers indoors per COVID. We could get temporarily shut down if so. Kay. My husband's the owner. Just take my order. Now, L isn't married. He comes around a lot, and he's very young, like my age. I think he inherited all the properties he owns. And B is married to the absolute sweetest person I've ever known, and they both live an hour away in a different state. Karen is like mid-40s and definitely not the sweet woman I've known for years. Me. Ma'am, I'm very sorry, but you're not married to the owner. I'm going to need you to step outside of the store, and I'd be more than happy to assist you outside. K. Effing excuse me? I can get you fired, you little bee. Me. Okay, I hope you do. But I still need you to step outside of the store so I can take your order. K. I won't take this treatment. I'll call the owner and get you fired. Me. Okay, while you do that, I'm going to call the actual owner so he can come tell you to step outside of the store. Kay grabs her phone and starts calling someone. I call B and explain the situation. While I'm talking, Kay interrupts me to say, yeah, he says you're fired, and you're too young to really be working here anyway. I don't know why he hired a child to work, but you don't work here anymore. B overhears this and starts laughing and asks to be put on speakerphone. Ma'am, I'm the owner of the store and I would never allow my wife, who's sitting next to me, to come into the store during the pandemic. It's a violation of current health laws and we have the right to call authorities if necessary. Please step outside the door. Karen is like screeching that it's the other owner, L, but she calls him by the wrong name. B started laughing again because L has no control over the actual store. He just owns the building and we pay him rent. L is currently right outside working on the roof, so at this point I say, oh, I didn't know L got married. I'll go congratulate him. Come on, let's go. So I walk outside and Kay is following me, calling me a child, B, etc. Me, hey L, do you mind coming down for a second? Kay looks absolutely mortified at this point. She definitely effed up and she knows it. But nah, I'ma keep rolling with it. At this point, L came down from the ladder confused as hell. Me, hey L, your new wife here says you just fired me and that she's allowed indoors. Now, I didn't know you got married. I'm so happy for you. L, ma'am, I'm gonna have to ask you to get the F off my property. I have no authority to fire anyone, and you're already being a B. L puts up with absolutely nothing and is really protective over me. Kay mumbles something I still can't understand and then says, I can't believe a effing teenager is doing this crap to me, and turns to go to her car. L, she's actually older than me and has far more patience than I do. Don't ever come back onto my effing property. Now Kay just calls and asks for delivery, which I'll happily do. L and I still laugh about it all the time. It's so nice to hear of a business where the owner won't take crap from a customer and also allows their staff to do the same. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.